Hey everybody, this is your friendly technical analyst Avi Harkishin from AH Charts. Just want to go over the charts really quick tonight for tomorrow. So let's just go over really fast what we have going on tomorrow. So this is the breakdown for tomorrow. We have some news. Well, I'm not going to be live streaming tomorrow. I got to be at my son's school. Um, Tomorrow we have initial jobless claims at 8:30 a.m. So I expect some volatility in the market around that time, going into the first 30 minutes or so to see where the market's gonna head. So you want to be patient. There's a lot of volatility going on in the market. No, don't try to front run anything. Be patient. Wait for a setup. There's a lot of news coming out right now. Size down your position. Don't try to be a hero. Just saying, in Wall Street or on Wall Street, pigs get slaughtered. So be very careful. Going into tomorrow, in terms of stocks, or tomorrow and Friday that I'm currently looking at, are Apple, Google, Tesla, Coinbase, and Palantir. Those are the stocks. I tend to look at the ETFs as well. So let's go ahead and let's look at VIX. So VIX is, I see two paths for VIX. Here, let's look at the 4 hours. VIX is still trading within this range. That's the parallel range. Two paths I see for VIX tomorrow. We could see a rejection on VIX. We're in this box, so we could see a rejection that come back and test the midline over here around 23 or so. Support is at 21. The bullish case scenario, well, everything will depend on what happens in the morning because, news throw off every technical analysis. So you just have to pay attention on how price is going to react in the morning when we have that news and so forth at 8:30 to 9:30 to 10 o'clock ish. Market tend to settle about 10 o'clock, and then you'll maybe have a sense of direction where the market's heading, unless President Trump decides to tweet something, whether bearish or bullish, and Iran go back and forth. Then you're going to continue to have that volatility, and your technical analysis is just going to be useless. So just keep in mind, you have resistance 27.94, you have support at 21.83. You are currently trading right in the middle, so you have to be careful when you're trading right in the middle because you could move any direction. So those are two paths. Just watch, see where VIX open tomorrow, whether it's opening to the upside or to the downside, close to resistance or close to the support. Um, for SPY going into tomorrow, we have resistance on top here. I have a sell zone, which is the previous day high, which is today's high. So I put previous day high, which is going to be today's high going into tomorrow. So your sell zone here is between 660, which is today's high, to around 663 or so. This is where we saw selling continuously today, going back to tomorrow and so forth. And you moved up and you're in a bear flag pattern. You're still holding the previous day low, which is today low. So I'm looking for two things tomorrow. And in the morning, you'll get a clearer sense what's really going on. We either break to the upside here, reject, and we trade within the range, today's range, or you break either one of these range. If you break previous day low, I am targeting, which is 654, I'm targeting 650 as the next retest level. So anywhere between 660, or you can come down to 648. And where did I get that from? It's just a fib extension. So you come over here, and I'm gonna take it from here. I'm not gonna use this wick. And this is where you get it. This here would be the bearish case scenario if you come down here. You could come all the way here and fill that 1 hour fair value gap, which you got from this candle over here. But your profit area would be this support here at 650 to 648 if we break 640. This here would be my target region that I'll be looking for. Right? And there you go. In terms of volume profile, if you're staying here, you're rejecting this key level over here, you continue rejecting, you have a very higher probability of breaking to the downside. So your entire trading range tomorrow is going to be today's high and today's low, which is today is March 25th. Let's look at QQQ really fast. QQQ pretty much have, if you go, let me check the daily for you. So QQQ, this here is where QQQ is heading. This is a resistance level, was a support. whenever support flip, whenever price falls below support, it tends to flip resistance. That's the simplest way I can explain it. So now, if you're going back to the 1 hour resistance flip support, this is what you're looking at here. Your resistance level is going to be this 594. So your range that you're trading in is that previous day high, previous day low. If you start breaking above that previous day high, be very careful because you do have resistance. So you want to be careful jumping into any position. There is a $4 move up to the upside here at 594, but you still want to be careful. If you start breaking to the downside, I'm looking for that 580 target. So you could even come over here as well. So it's going to be right over here, which is at 680, 583 support, which you could retest because you bounce off of this level. You test these level a couple times and you bounce off of them. So this 583, if you break 585 previous day low, you could come down here and bounce off of it as well. So very tight range you're trading in. So if you're trading this, you got to be very quick scalping this. The market is not a market where it's currently trending where you want to keep holding. You got to get in, got to get out really fast. So those are the key levels I'm looking at for SPY, but QQQ, you are in that bear flag. And if you break down, you can see a breakdown anywhere between this level here, 683, this 583 to 580. I'll be looking for to retest this level here, or even 578 to be more bearish or fill this 1 hour fair value gap at 576. But I would not be like holding contracts to get all of this downside. I'll just be get in and out. If you got to take 20%, 30%, if you're shorting, if you're breaking these lows, because you're in a support region here at the moment for QQQ. So you have flipped resistance flip support, but you're in that support area there again. So it all depends on how the market reacts with the initial drop disclaim in the morning. So those are the key levels you're looking at as the market open. For IWM, so you have this, which is a previous all-time high. It has tested it over here, bounced, came back, we tested it, broke slightly below it, and now we're above that again. And let me just remove this. And now you're closing with a doji right into a resistance level up here. So this is a key resistance level you're looking at. It's a previous day high, previous day low, which is today. We have chopped within that entire resistance level. And on the 1 hour, there's a sort of a rising wedge pattern forming. So I would be looking at this level here because you continue to get sold off. So you got to be very careful if you're chopping within this level here. You got to be careful taking a position because you could move any direction. Plus, on top of that, there's news and stuff coming out. So any break to the upside, you want to wait for a 15 minutes close. Do not chase a 5-minute candle, especially now. Wait for that 15 minutes close. Wait for a 5 minutes retest and hold at least. Be very careful. If you can hold and you continue to push the upside, then your next level is 256 key resistance level. That's where you're going to see a huge resistance level. If you break to the downside, you have this level here I'm looking at, which is sort of a gap that was not completely filled. So you can come back here around 246, 247 area if you start breaking there. So very tight ranges that you're trading in, very choppy market. So not much to go off of. So as I said, you got to be careful. Over here, you do have a 1 hour fair value gap, which I think at some point you're going to start closing out the bottom here. You're going to come back and test these levels at some point. When that's going to be, I don't know. But if you're coming down here, this is a support level if you're to break this. But 244, huge support level. If you come down here, that's a huge support level as well. Those are the key levels I'm looking for. GDX. Think GDX come down. This is gold miners. I think you can see this for GDX come back down, retest this $82 support, which is the point of control on the two hours, and then move back up and fill this gap over here. Let's take a look at the watch list. So the first stock that I'm currently watching is Apple. Apple has entered our blue box. We have completed A, B, C to the downside, and we're in a WXY as of now. I'm just looking at this as WXY, which is going to be a W, X, and Y to complete that macro retracement. So for that macro retracement, I am looking for some upside here. This is the 4-hour chart. Let's go to the 1-hour chart. What I'm looking for here in Apple is any retracement. I want to see it hold this level over here, which is 250 area. So I want to see this 250 area hold. If we can come down and hold this 250 area over here, we could probably see some pushback up because this would be, it doesn't go in straight line, obviously. The market's very choppy. It could do a whole bunch of stuff. But this would be my key level I want to see hold, which is that 250 area. So you're seeing what I'm seeing here in Apple. I kind of don't like this pattern over here. It tends to follow some sort of distribution. So I'm looking at this pattern right here. So got to be careful with it because you could see a break. If you see that break of 250, very likely you come down and retest that level. More bearish case scenario would actually be a deeper retracement here. Come down towards that 0.618, which is 249, the 247 area. So that's what I'm watching. See whether or not Apple is gonna hold 252.40, or is it gonna come down back and test that 250 area or so. Let's take a look at, but I'm looking at this level get hit at some point. Whether or not you come back, retest, and move up. I'm looking at that level. Um, Give me 1 second, guys. All right, let's look at Google. So what I'm looking at here for Google, Google is building out a head and shoulder pattern. This is one I've been talking about for a while. Have here, I still have downside to retest this 270 area. Google is currently breaking a previous daily resistance over here. And you have retested this area. It became support. This was support. I flipped it as resistance today because you came back and you broke below that level. So if we continue to hold below this $300 level, especially breaking below this 290, Google is coming down and it's going to test this 270. Still strongly feel Google is going to be retesting this the 270. So that's what I'm watching for tomorrow. How Google is going to react tomorrow. What I can see here is you have an A, a B, and a C. So you're currently building out that A, B, and C pattern. A, B, and C. Now, you could still see that C wave extend. So where would my target be for Google? If we break that 290, my target for Google is around this 280 or so area. So you can definitely see that happen somewhere within this range. I'm looking for Google tomorrow, especially if you're holding below that 290. Anywhere within this range, that would be my target zone if you're breaking that to 290. So take a look at that. Keep an eye on this level here tomorrow for Google. Again, a lot of these things could play out in the morning pre-market. Depends on how the initial jobless claim come out. So a lot of them could play out. So I'm watching Google. Let's go to the other one I'm watching, but I still think we're coming back down to at least 280 and 270 or so. So we can have an ABC, and we can even have a double correction on Google. Once you complete that ABC or so, we can have a W, X, and Y that looks like this. Within the ABC pattern, we can have a WXY. So yeah, let's go to the other one. All right, let's look at Tesla. Tesla's on my watch list as well. So here on Tesla, you have this box, which is support. Price came down, bounced off of this level twice, went back up, came down, bounced off of this level right over here. We broke this level and we went back up. In my analysis last night, I said I was expecting Tesla to fill this gap. There was a gap right over here that Tesla has created, which is right here. This was the gap I was looking for Tesla to fill, which it did today. And I said, if you fill that gap, I'm looking to see some kind of either a rejection or you continue to hold and move to the upside within the sell zone. So you rejected, you're back within this demand zone right here. So what I'm watching for tomorrow is any break below this 382 level tomorrow. Let's go for the 1 hour chart. Any break below this $382 level, you could come back down to this 375 level I'm watching for. Now, let's go to the 1 hour. To the 30 minutes. So what I'm watching here for Tesla, you fill the gap, you get rejected, and now you're in that same resistance level that has flipped support in a way. Well, the support level from back here, you're still within this level where you could see a bounce happen. If you start breaking this 382 level, the next level I would be watching for in Tesla is within this box here, that's 376 target. Any drop below 376, I'm looking for 367, anywhere between 371 to 367 to get retested. So you are in that bear flag pattern. As I said, a lot of this you're going to see what happens in the morning because the initial jobless claim could cause any of these to get invalidated or to play out in the pre-market session. But these are the key levels I'm watching going into tomorrow. So you do have resistance up here as well, which is at 403. So any break to the upside here, you have resistance at 403, which is this level right over here as well. So that's one of the levels you want to get marked off your chart as well. If you get up here, you can see selling as well. Let's take a look at the other one. All right, this is Coin. Coin is on my watch list. This is a daily chart in Coin. You have completed an ABC retracement on Coin here. You got ABC, WXY. You get a double correction on Coin. What I'm looking for in Coin right now, you are in a bear flag. You're breaking down heavy volume over here. You're breaking down. And now you're rejecting the weekly resistance at 190 area. So I think the next retracement, because you do have a gap over here as well, which I think will get filled. So this would be my target area. I think it's coming down to fill this gap, and which is a target area anywhere between 169 all the way down to 169 to 161, or all the way down to 152. So this would be my target area right now for Coin. I do think Coin is coming down lower, especially if Bitcoins start dropping. Let's take a look at the 1 hour chart. Let me see if this one here makes more sense. Let's do the 15 minutes chart. All right. Okay, so this is Coin. You're in that bear flag pattern again that we talked about. You're breaking down. Key level I'm looking at in the 15 minutes chart is whether or not you're going to get rejected off of this 15 minutes resistance. It's 182. If you're getting rejected off of this 15 minutes resistance, there's two paths we could take. A breakout, come back here, test this level. Where did I get that from? You take your fib retracement tool. You start from the pivot high to the pivot low. Somewhere between that 0.5 to 618 is where you tend to see some rejection. And you look at the volume profile. This is where we see a lot of the resistance, the selling volume over here. So right now, there's a lot of selling volume within this region. If you start breaking below this region over here, very thin volume profile moving to the downside. So a very pivotal spot here. So once you start breaking, you're gonna start to move down very fast towards that 176 area. So what am I looking for tomorrow? If you start breaking this 180 level, very much likely you don't need to come up here. You're probably just gonna start dropping tomorrow. Bullish case scenario is you break, retest, and then you come for that pullback. So that's what I'm looking at. Key level here I'm looking at is that 15 minutes resistance at 182, whether or not we're breaking above it or not. And if you're breaking below 180, very likely you're going to come down here. So this here is what I'm looking for. But I still think whichever path it takes, I think coin is coming back down to fill that gap we talked about earlier, or at least coming back down to 176 to 170 area on the 15 minutes chart. So that's what I have for coin. All right, and Palantir is the last one I'm going to be looking at. That's on my watch list. So Palantir came down, retested this area, came back up, which is exactly where our blue box was here, waiting for Palantir to come down. We said it's going to have a bounce over here. What I'm looking at going into tomorrow and this week is there's two ways this could play out. I'm looking at this area over here to see whether or not we are going to break down to the downside or we are going to break to the upside and hit this 171 area. If you look, there's two things I'm looking at really. There's quite a lot of selling on top here. So if you hold this area, you continue to hit this area over here, you're gonna probably drop again to the downside. That's what I'm really looking at, but there's a lot of selling over here. So where would be a likely scenario for this to come down to? Probably retest this area at 141 or so is what I'm looking at. If this is rejecting over here, because this is where you have a lot of resistance. If not, it's going to come up here and then reject. So I'm looking at that. Let's look at the other one here. You're looking at the market bias, which is it was always finding support all the way back here, sitting at support, and now you're retesting. You're right at the bottom of market bias where you tend to see some selling. So I'm expecting to see a rejection right over here or so on Palantir. So I'm keeping an eye on that. And let's look at the other thing I want to look at here is that there's some mixed sentiment because now you're starting to sit on top of our indicator right over here. So this here is going to act as some sort of support, which is right at this green box here. So any break of this green box, you're looking at 143 to come back and retest this 137 area. Let's look at the 1 hour time frame. Okay, here's the 1 hour time frame I'm looking at. Same thing I'm looking at. This is our sell zone. This here you was support at some point, flip resistance, act as resistance, come back, act as resistance. You're back there again, act as resistance. So you could see a rejection and come back and test this green box over here. See whether or not you find support here. If you break below 147, you're going to retest 143. So technically, I am looking to see whether or not I'm looking for a bit more downside here for Palantir to retest 149 at least. Any break below 147 to retest 143 area on Palantir. So the 1 hour chart is showing some sort of a distribution look on the 1 hour chart where it wants to come back down and retest at least this 149 area, so 150. So that's what I'm looking at for Palantir in a way. All right, that's everything for the analysis in our watch list tonight. Thank you guys for watching. If you have watched this video, take care. Have a wonderful trading day tomorrow.